Hey, YouTube Internet. This is something that I might begin to post under the heading, under the title of The New Abnormal. And I may highlight some people that I find intriguing, interesting, poignant, important, valuable. I'm going to probably think more about the positive rather than the negative side of things, rather than exposing the bastards by showing the bastards, which a lot of people are really good at doing. All the different channel channel content providers like Corbett Report and even the We Are Change guy, and many different YouTubers are doing a great job at showing the negative side of things. But I'm going to focus on this person for a moment here. I'm going to capture what he has to say because I think it's very important, specifically during our new abnormal, the new abnormal as it is being brought in and propagated, and the terror that people feel themselves under now in terms of the idea of being infiltrated by some external force called a virus. And I'm just going to play this. I'll comment probably afterwards a little bit more. This is a doctor who's been persecuted. I was a little bit dismayed to find out he is related to Brigham Young, the founder of the Mormon Church, the Latter-day Saint people. I am, like Groucho Marx said, I can't belong to a club that would have me as a member, and here's a club that the Brigham Young fellow was extraordinarily a degenerate, a pathetic degenerate. Just think of in terms of if your lifestyle and habits were replicated by half the men on the planet. He had 56 wives, or 55 wives and 56 children or something. If you replicate this concept, it's obviously an elitist position. It's ridiculous. It's insane. I mean, the idea of being married to 56 people and their whole thing. I'm not going to get into this. This is another topic. Obviously, you can see my disdain for this concept of this club called the Mormons, and he's quite respectful towards his ancestors, who probably had some really good, important things to contribute, like he has. He's saying some very important things, and I hope that he's well. I have not done a deep research into this person. What I'm listening to are the words, and the words to me are important. And let me just play this. Let me just put this on.
Once you understand the new biology, the new chemistry, the new physics, it literally underwrites everything you understand, and even how wonderful and courageous Dell's work is.
I'm not sure who he's referring to here. Dell, I think, is someone who is on side with his idea of basic pH levels in the body, and the fluids in our body need to be in balance, in the pH balance. And Dell is probably a person that he's worked with or has also promoted this idea, which makes a lot of sense to me. The idea of the body needing to be in balance in terms of its fluids. He calls them interstitial fluids or whatever. But let me continue. This is very important here, I find.
Once he puts the other component, when he understands that the biggest fraud against this humanity is the fact that viruses have never been isolated.
There you go.
None. There is no measles virus. And once you understand the basic chemistry and biology of the fraud that they perpetuated on the human race, and each year, if you ever thought about this, why is there a new virus every year with a new name, with a similar types of symptomologies? This all started with the Third Reich. And Dr. Enders and the so-called viruses. I write about this in one of my books. A second thought about viruses, vaccines, and the HIV AIDS hypothesis, and I'm not alone. Those who have been brave enough, who stood up, even Peter Duesberg, Professor Peter Duesberg at Berkeley University, a friend of mine, who wrote the book Inventing the AIDS Virus, lost all of his funding at the university. When the Nobel Prize winner for discovering the so-called HIV virus gets exiled to Beijing because he's changing his mind about the existence of a virus. This is how bad things are. And this is how dangerous of a man I am. And the interesting thing is the things that I talk about are basic biology, things that you learn in Biology 101, such as identifying bacterial phages. Bacterial phages is a very simple thing to identify. But not one single virus, when Dr. Enders began using the same process to identify viruses by using a procedure which I'll show you, not one single virus has ever been isolated from those experiments. What we're dealing with here are cell fragments.
Okay, I'll leave it here for now. I might pop my face up on a in video version, and this is a tribunal for natural justice convened in some place. It was streamed live April 1st, as you can see. So what this fellow is saying through his own understanding and level of expertise, and like I said before, for me, what is important is a fundamental rationale that underlies a position. And his position is that the body needs to be pH balanced, something like above a 7.2 in the fluids in our bodies, and the entire mechanism that we are inadvertently participating in. I mean, no one has control of this. This is like in the sense of how it actually works. We do have control in our lifestyle. He talks about this. He says what you breathe, what you think, what you eat, what you drink, what you believe are all instrumental in keeping the whole system working or having it go out of whack. And he's a big proponent of not having a meat diet because it's so acidic. And you know, this whole argument always in terms of supplements and what the body needs, and each body is different. Well, it may be, but certain prerequisites exist, and I believe he's hit the nail here, and that is the pH aspect to our metabolism has to be respected, understood, regarded, and anyway, it's a lot more involved. His entire dissertation on illness, which again I listened to most of it, and I have to say I agree. He's a little reticent about what he says long-term fasting. I'm not sure what he means by long-term. I regularly do 7 to 14-day fasts. Maria has done, I think, up to close to 30-day fast. And the idea is to give the organs a rest and to detox through cleansing, colonics and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't go into it. He a little bit kiboshes the thing a little bit. You know, they always have like little oppositions. You know, he's an expert on one thing, and then he doesn't like what another person maybe like. I love Dr. Bernard Jensen, and his approach to health. We have to decide this for ourselves, understand it, practice it, experience it. But he makes very important points, and of course, the virus issue, the old COVID thing that's going on. But I'll go on video. This is all I'm going to capture. I don't think it's a problem in terms of reproduction. These people aren't going to object. Anyway, like I said, may publish some videos under the new title or under the title of The New Abnormal, because I quite resent, I'm offended by the idea that something that is so contrary to our nature of existing, uh, in a really bad sense, and call it the new normal, as though we need to comply in some form with something that makes no sense. Anyway, this is possibly a video that first video under the idea under a series maybe of videos that is the new abnormal, just to point out that let's you know, a small voice in the middle of nowhere in the desert coming, but YouTube is interesting. All these platforms are interesting because they provide an outlet for ideas still. And I don't think I have much to add to this. You get the just what happened here in this capture that I did of this Robert Young. And like I said, I didn't do any deep research into the person. And this is someone, sometimes it's disturbing because I find a person who's saying really valuable things, something that I can attach to the way I would like to believe or understand things to be, then they turn out to have proclivities proclivities that I may find objectionable, like his attachment to his ancestors, the guy that started the Mormon church. And there's plenty of Mormons out there, but like I said in the video, it's like a club, it's like an elitist outfit. Imagine if all the men on earth behaved like Brigham Young. It'd be, well, it's unimaginable. It's nuts. It's crazy. It's mayhem version of us. But again, aside from that, the guy makes sense what he's saying, and he's articulating as a professional, as a biologist, someone who has studied the nature of our metabolism. He says a virus has never been isolated. And this is something within my concept of existence, the external world, the internal world. It actually physically manifests itself as well, that we're told things come from outside, infect us and kill us, an infectious theory. Why is it continuously referred to as a theory? If it's so correct, why not just say it's infectious fact, not theory? Or infectious theory is finally accepted as being the absolute truth about the nature of our reality in terms of illness, but hey, the white coats can't admit to this. This is a problem. It's not like a disconnect here for me, because it either is what they say or something else is going on. And he's saying, well, something else is going on. It's not what they say it is. It's an internal illness, is an internal manifestation of a level of toxicity, like cancer. Like I've said, this makes sense to me out of Bernard Jensen, that cancer is uncontrolled cell growth, fed by, generally speaking, carbs and sugars, that kind of thing. And he's adding the idea that the pH is absolutely important to a metabolism functioning, the human being functioning well. And there is no deviation here. I mean, we can exist in a toxic environment, but then the brain cells go toxic, the body goes toxic, the brain cell go toxic. You look at Kissinger or Soros or all these reptiles that have cryogenetics on their side. They're going to be frozen and maybe healed over time when they bring them back. But these people are toxic. Their ideas, their thoughts are toxic. I also want to just mention Andrew Kaufman, a doctor that has been posting on all this virus COVID stuff and is kiboshing it, saying there is no evidence for the way we are told, a thing living on something and then invading the body. It is an internal response. I think I'll end it here. I'll just again say the inner and outer world thing that really motivates me in my day-to-day life, that sense of self that is an inner a learning of something within rather than something that has come from outside. And I've said, as a painter, as an artist, I'm influenced. There are things that I perceive and understand, but I internalize things that become meaningful. So the inner world is everything. We start out the same. Generally speaking, a healthy body, a baby comes out. All babies start the same. It is a process. It is an introduction. As we grow, as we get older, we're introduced to this dichotomy of the outside and the inside, and to the extent to which the things outside of me reinforce what is within is what I accept, is what I understand to be wholesome. I'll leave it here. So the new abnormal, and I believe this doctrine to be of real value to our understanding of what we're going through, and to remind people that that are not experts like myself, relying on someone that has done the research, that is on the ground looking at what a virus may or may not be, and coming out and saying it's never been isolated. So how can you create a vax? How can you a vaccination? How can you introduce, and he talks about this too, the toxic elements that are introduced through vaccinations into children is absolutely offensive. It's a nightmare. It's nuts. It's crazy. The elements that are being introduced into vulnerable, gentle bodies at a very early age. He goes into this, and 100% right. It makes no sense. It's insane. And his position, I guess I'm not quite finished. His position as well, that this is deliberate. It's an attack against all life on Earth, specifically humanity is under threat. What I understood on 3/11 when Fukushima blew up, I realized this was not just a random occurrence. We have been building in our industrialization, in our technological advancement, the distractions we have to keep our mind off something that is so fundamentally happening all around us, which is the attack on life itself. The nuclear industry is the biggest culprit. There are many culprits, obviously. The pharmaceuticals, the chemical industries are absolutely responsible for the levels of toxicity that is basically going to be a threat against all of biology. I agree with him on this.